Hello world, my name is Richard, and today I want to talk to you about censorship. It takes various forms, and I myself have struggled to get heard on some topics. It's damn difficult if you're not actually a name in some celebrity or someone like that. You just don't get heard. There's all kind of suppression of people's voices in this so-called democracy. We're not allowed to speak. We're allowed to speak, but we won't get heard. So, censorship. This is triggered by a post which I reported in a physics forum recently online, and I made a separate video about it. I'll link to that below. But basically, I was concerned about crop circles because I know that there's evidence, reliable, sound evidence, to indicate that they're not all man-made. Now, the myth is they're all fake. And this occurred ever since the BBC documentary on the subject, which purported to show how, I think it was 5 or 6 guys could make one of these things, after about 4 or 5 hours of work. And lo and behold, the media people, the papers, then ran with that the next day. They're all fake, all fake, all fake, all bollocks, all works of art, whatever. But that documentary itself was made during the day. And as I recall, I think the producers actually said this at the time on the film itself. The point is actually made during the day for the cameras, but the thing itself happened at night. And yet this documentary is touted as evidence of these things all being fake. And ever since I've wondered about them and about the actual media response and so forth, it's all quite strange. If you go to crop circles, they've been happening for decades, not just in Wiltshire, that is a prime centre area, but not just there. Other countries have reported them worldwide. Places like Japan, Australia, and Germany, and Netherlands, Austria, Italy, Switzerland, all over the place. But this physics forum, I posed the question, why do mainstream scientists ignore crop circles? Which is going to be challenging, I knew that. So I gave examples of the evidence that could be found if you look. Namely, of seeds being different when they're picked from the flattened areas compared to the normal standing corn. And the growth circles occurring year after year in the same area, same field. Different crops, same pattern. And yet, despite this evidence, which I put in the post itself, the response I get was a strong, kind of, don't be such an idiot. Here's someone to be on to give on to about fantasy. It's really quite condescending and rude. And the conclusion, well, these things have been proven false after scientific assessment, those words are used. What the fuck does that mean? You either actually prove they're false or you don't. You don't just assess them from a distance. Utter nonsense. So yeah, that's that got me thinking about other cases of censorship in my life in particular, but elsewhere. I've written to MPs, I've had about 8 of them in my travels over the years. I've written to 2, I think, about cannabis usage, drug policy. No response at all. Just none. It's not on the party menu, therefore we don't respond. I've also written to 2 or 3 about the actual nature of the political system, the party system, and what I think of it. Again, no response at all. The whole thing is utterly dishonest. And then you get this, where it all started for me, this what's it called? Political correctness. That term, as I recall, was first coined by a Times journalist in about 1985 or something, not sure when. And it is used in a kind of satirical manner to indicate that a statement or a policy was not correct, but rather politically correct, i.e. acceptable to the masses or to the establishment, whatever the context was. So it doesn't mean correct at all. It's a joke. And yet now you get people saying particular phrases or words, we can't say that. That's not on PC. Don't go there. Can't talk about that. Ooh. Now I'm not one for advocating we say anything you want, of course not. There are constraints, you have to be mindful of the impact. But we should be able to talk about more than we actually currently are talking about. We should be able to have a debate about crop circles, for God's sake. They're physical phenomena. What is wrong with them? And the same goes with UFOs. Scientists won't touch those, by and large. There's many scientists. I've seen one myself. I know weird things are happening. I've had many odd experiences. And yet mainstream scientists just won't go there. Fear of being ridiculed, fear of being laughed at, like children. And then you get to the idea of this prison planet. Which I've seen 3 videos from separate sources all talking about it. The idea that the Earth is a planet for souls to be trapped in bodies here and then recycled over and over again for some obscure reason. But given my experience of the things I've met in life, I can well believe it. I think the long-term reason, is to kill the planet. That's my thinking, my view. A bit extreme, I know, but there is some of the people think along those lines. But if we assume that these evil beings are in charge, as I think they are and have been for a long time, then it follows that censorship of various kinds is the norm. It fits in perfectly with all this secrecy, this kind of this default secrecy which the UK government has ever since World War II, or even earlier. Okay, there's some justification for it, but it's not. It can't be fully justified. And these FBI requests, which what's his name starts on? Sorry now, Gove. Departments every white or to obfuscate the things and delay them and not respond to them. And the paper is not reporting fairly on particular issues. Their bias is just evident, it's obvious. The bias towards Israel against Palestine is obvious. It's a matter of, factual evidence. And the bias towards Brexit is just bonkers. The doziness about climate change and about science, against science in general, is just insane. The whole thing is just completely bloody dozy. Staggering. Sometimes people I've met who fear death and need to know how things work because once they know how, they feel better, feel safer. And they don't need to fear this, but they believe that everyone did. Therefore, they had no choice. Their beliefs are friggingly drivel. In some cases, completely bloody bizarre, bonkers, bullshit things. Just utter insanity. The evidence is overwhelming. You look at Israel, the Gaza and Palestine in general, and anyone who isn't Israel, basically. the Russians, the Americans now, the Brexit bonkers bullshit wankers here. God, the bullshit is incredible. And now you get censorship on YouTube itself. It's steadily getting worse. You know, there's certain words you aren't allowed to say, no matter what the context. I tried writing about the Civil War once, wasn't allowed to. I had to think of a different phrase, civil conflict. Oh God, okay, that got past the censor. What kind of world is it? Where we can't even express ourselves properly. I think that'll do for now. Please share and subscribe and comment. I like feedback.